So good morning, everyone. Welcome to lecture 15 of Grid and Cloud Computing. So in this lecture, we will discuss about message-oriented middleware, which is a subtopic of our service-oriented architecture. So as the name suggests, message-oriented middleware. Earlier we discussed about the middleware, in which I told you there is a top layer and there is a bottom layer. In between the top layer and the bottom layer, you have a layer that we call as a middleware layer, right? The purpose of this middleware layer is it is providing single system image. I already discussed what is single system image. Still, I am telling you again. Single system image enable that the entire system is treated as a single system. For example, you want to deploy, suppose you want to deploy, let's say, if you consider the example what we discussed in the lab class, that is Amazon S3, right? In Amazon S3, suppose you want to create, let's say, 10 buckets, right? So these 10 bucket is created on the top of a physical machine, right? And these things are given to you as a virtual machine, right? But by using your username and password, you have created one account, right? And by the help of that username and password, you are able to create, and you have to you can interact with the Amazon S3 interface, right? So if you see this thing, for you, this Amazon cloud service provider is treated as a single window, right? You have a single thing. You don't know where it is created, whether it is created in the US West region or US East region or Asia Pacific region. You will able to know, but the complexity where in which server it is created, or in which security policies enforced to your virtual machine or bucket, that you don't care, right? So this is the complexity of the infrastructure you can avoid by the help of the middleware, right? That is the advantages of going for middleware. So a lot of complexity is resolved, or it is not shown to the user, so that user treat that everything as a single system. That is the use of middleware. So middleware also provides interaction with the top layer and bottom layer. If any message communication is required between two different layers, middleware helps us to communicate between these two layers, right? So it is considered as a third party. Suppose you want to do a banking transaction, right? Bank is one party, you are another party. So in between, you know that there is a middleware. Like whenever you are doing online transactions, you have seen CC Avenue. So these are various things, right? CC Avenue like companies, they are providing some interface. They are able to move your online shopping website. If you are subscribing, you are going for online shopping website or online SBI, right? So in that case, if you see, uh, in this case, online shopping case or online SBI case, while you are making a transactions, right, from a shopping site to the banking site, so it is providing an interface for moving from the shopping site to banking site, again back to the your banking your shopping website, right? So such type of things are provided by various interfaces, right? That is called as message orientation, right? You are communicating through messages, right? One message is propagated from, let's say, Amazon to SBI to pay, let's say, 500 rupees. Once you give your informations like username and password, or you authorize the transactions, what it will do? Again, SBI will redirect to the Amazon so that your order is successfully placed, right? The same thing can be done by the help of the various interfaces, right? So interfaces may be different with respect to the applications, with respect to how you want to communicate. So in today's class, we will see a little bit more about the service-oriented architecture, especially this middleware aspects. So here we are using something called Enterprise Service Bus, that is called ESB. So you know that whenever you want to travel from one place to another place, what you are taking? You are taking a transport services. These transport services may be a bus, maybe a auto, right? Maybe a taxi, or maybe the flight communication or the train communications, right? Like that, based upon your availability or based upon your requirement, you are using the services in order to transfer from one place to another place, right? Or in order to move from one place to another place. Similarly, in the computer communication also, if a data you want to transfer from one component to another component. For example, CPU want to send the data to somewhere, right? Or input output devices like keyboard. Keyboard is giving some command, okay, or entering something, right? That thing should go to the CPU, right? So they are communicating each other through a bus, right? So in microprocessor, if you have studied, or computer organization, you may have studied, there is a data bus, there is a address bus, there is a control bus, right? So these buses are used to carry messages from one component to another component. They also provide parallelism also. Okay, if it is a 32-bit system, then you can say that 32 bits you can transmit it at the same time. If it is a 64-bit system, you can say 64 bits. Okay, 64 zeros, ones, or any combinations you can transfer from one component to another component. Right, that is the advantages you will get in the bus devices. Right, and it is very essential to transfer the data from one unit to another unit. That's why service bus is important in case of message communication. So services interact with messages. Okay, if you consider multiple services, these multiple services interact with messages, right? Suppose I want to send some PPT to you, so I'll communicate. I'll open my email box and I will attach that PPT and I will mail you, right? So there is a message communication between two different party. I'm communicating with you. You are the second party. I'm the first party. So we are communicating through some services, right? Some web services, right? These services interact with messages with a variety of different formats, means different APIs. One cloud service provider may use one type of API, another cloud service provider may use different APIs, right? So while you are communicating with two different parties in computer network, also you know that different types of protocols are also used, right? If you are using a wired medium, then you can say wired protocol. If you are using wireless medium, right, like Wi-Fi, okay, Bluetooth, then you can say that is a wired protocols, right? So that message can be transferred from one component to another component, right? So with respect to different services, you can see there are different formats are there, right? Like one person is can write anything in the email, right? If you say Gmail, somebody may use Reddit mail, somebody may use Yahoo mail. So they may use different formats in order to transfer the message from one component to another component, right? So one of the example, if you see in this ESB case, that is enterprise service based case, the author of the service, author means the owner, right? Or as a user, if you seeking some kind of services, or if you are requesting some kind of services, right? So you are the author of the services. So this author of the service should not need to worry that a special port is to be used to avoid firewall difficulties. So you know you are using firewalls in our computer system or in any network, we are using firewall. So as a service consumer, you should not worry about which port should be used or which special port is used to avoid firewall difficulties, right? So it is the responsibility of the service provider that he has to provide the services with utmost care about the security aspects, right? And that we need to use UDP or any protocol you are using, whether you are using TCP protocol or you are using UDP protocol, right? You did not worry about that, right? And you need not worry about what kind of fault tolerance mechanism is used, okay, if your services is down in a particular time or your services is crashed, right? So what fault tolerance approach to achieve satisfactory latency if there is a long distance communications? So once you transfer your data, it may happen that the source and destination is very far away from each other, right? The source and destination were not present in a single place, right? So they may present in anywhere, right? So if a long distance communication is there, okay, so you have to ensure that the latency is the delay, right? The delay should be as minimum as possible. Like that while you are sending speed post also, if you take a real life example, speed post also, suppose you are sending one letter to USA, right? So what will happen? It is a long distance communications, right? So you have to ensure that, or you have to so suppose postal should give assurance that within 15 days or 30 days it will reach to your destinations, right? So you have to achieve a satisfactory latency. If it is taking, suppose it is most urgent, you want to send by 10 days only. So you may subscribe some other services, because these services, this postal services is requesting, is providing the services within 15 days or 30 days. Suppose your requirement is 10 days, you can move to some other courier services, right? So similarly, the same case happens here. So you have to achieve satisfactory latency for the long distance communications, right? And this ESB refers to the case where the bus supports the convenient interaction with many components. Integration means one component is there, another component is there, you want to combine. Like if you know, in software engineering, there is a student module, there is a faculty module, there is an administration module. So each and every module is successfully developed. So what I have to do, I have to combine each module to build a particular software. So what I am doing, I am doing integration, right? Integration of one component with another component. So this enterprise service bus is giving integration of many components, or it may be in the different style. So while you are integrating, there are a lot of issues may have come. One module is developed in one language, another module is developed in another language, right? So then that will create a problem, right? So integration requires that the standard type of protocols or standard type of things, or one you can say cross-platform, right? So with I mean, multiple operating systems may be also installed in to develop a particular component, right? So whenever you are going to building a particular software, you have to ensure that it is not having any integration issues, right? So as I told you about here, fault tolerance, right? Fault is of various types, right? If you go to, there is a specific subject in courses that is called as fault tolerance computing. If you go to that subject, you will get more details about the fault tolerance. Just I'll give a very small highlight so that those who are interested, they can go for that. So fault tolerance, if you go for fault is of three types. One is called as your permanent fault. Like your home, you have a electric bulb, right? Suppose the bulb is gone, right? Suppose there is a high voltage, the bulb is means getting a high temperature, sorry, high voltage, then the bulb burns, right? So what will happen? So you have to replace the bulb with another bulb. That is called a permanent fault. So if a permanent fault happens to a particular component, then what is the problem? You are bound to replace that component. That is the demerit, right? There is no repair case, right? If something is damaged, what you will do? You will simply plug out that thing and plug in another thing, right? That is called as a permanent fault. Similarly, if you go for second type of fault, that is called as transient fault. Transient fault says that the service is transient fault case, the service is not available for a particular period of time, right? For example, if you see IRCTC website, IRCTC website is down from 11:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m., right? This 1 hour duration is the site is down for the maintenance purpose, or for some other purpose also, right? Or to carrying out the, or to generate the reports, or whatever may be, the site is down. But after 12:30, what will happen? It will resume its services, right? So it may happen that whenever a fault occurred in a particular component, right, that component will not be available for a period of time. But once the period is over, the component will work normally, like IRCTC website. Such type of fault is called as a tangent fault, right? Third type of fault is a very dangerous fault, that is called as an intermittent fault. Okay, the intermittent fault says that services will not be available for a period of time, right? And this period will be repeatedly occurred. This period will be repeatedly occurred. For example, service is not available from 10 a.m. to 10:15. Again, the services is not available from 1 p.m. to 1:10. Another time, service is not available from 5 to 5 p.m. Right? Like that, you don't know what is the period. Okay, but transient fault, there is a single period. Here multiple periods are there, and each and every period you cannot define, right? And this process will continue until unless you repair the system or repair the component, right? So such fault is much more dangerous in comparison to the permanent fault and transient fault, right? So various type of fault happen while there is a message communication, or whether there is a in a particular component also. So you have to deal with each and everything in the fault tolerance. Fault tolerance is that even if there is a fault, whether it is a permanent or intermittent or transient fault, any fault, okay, so your system should work in a proper way. Okay, system should not say that there is a permanent fault, I cannot transfer the data, right? So at any cost, you have to ensure that the services is on only. There should not be any downtime, right? So that is the main goal of the fault tolerance concept, which is used in many things, not only in the service-oriented architecture, or but if you see in any each and every component of the computer science domains, we are using the fault tolerance. So see this example, this is a very interesting example. There is two figure. First one will go, that is nothing but the implemented between services. So if you see in the left side figure, right? So there are n services are there, right? One service may point to some other one, right? One service may point to one module, another service may be another thing, right? Like that, there are different services are there. Okay. These services, if you see, these services are generally represented in the form of ellipse, right? And there is a black dot. If you see there is a black dot, I will tell you what is the meaning of this black dot. It is called as injection, right? Injection means you are injecting something into that services. If you remember that data link layer case in the OSI ISO reference model of computer network, in data link layer you are adding some header bit and trailer bit, and other layers like network layer, presentation session and application layer, you are adding only the header bit, right? So what you are doing, you are injecting the header or trailer bit into the data, right? Similarly, we are injecting something into the services, right? That we represent in this black dot. So these services are interfaced by message bus, right? Like data bus, control bus, and our address bus. Here you have a message bus, right? This message bus provides communication, okay, between services. It also provided the routing abstractions. Routing means finding a particular path between two different components, right? So this message bus can provide such type of services, right? If you see, n services are there in the left side and n dash services are there in the right side, right? So between two different services, it is providing as a middleware. Okay, the message communication between any two services is done by this message oriented middleware, right? That is by a message bus. So message bus provides a interface between two different services, right? Next architecture, if you see, is a network of distributed broker. So what we did here, if you see, now I am replacing the message bus, the middle component, by a set of brokers. Okay, the message bus is now replaced by a set of brokers. That is M brokers I have represented in this figure, right? This broker what? Why we are using broker here? Broker provides services to the client, right? A set of services are there, right? A set of clients are there, or set of users are there, and on the other side, a set of resources are there. One side, set of set of tasks are there. Another side, a set of resources are there. Both can be mapped by the help of broker, right? A lot of vendors are there. Suppose I want to purchase a shirt, right? So a lot of vendors are there. I am not only the person who want to purchase a shirt. Many people want to purchase a shirt, right? So these are called as a set of users. What is the set of service? Whoever is providing this shirt, right? Maybe Amazon, maybe Flip, maybe let's say Myntra, okay, maybe some other websites, right? They are providing the services. So everything can be clogged, okay? They can be done. The mapping can be done. Which side is best for me? Which type of product I want? That can be decided by the broker. So broker is a middle point where the clients can communicate with each other, right? Or the client can choose a particular product for the providers, right? That is the advantages where we are replacing the message bus by broker. So another thing is that whenever you are communicating, you are the source, and to whom you are communicating, it is you are, that person is the destination. So you cannot open a channel. You cannot open a specific channel between the source and destination. That's why it is saying one does not open a channel between the source and destination. Within source destination, it is not practically possible to open a channel. But what we can do, we can inject a message, Just like I told in the previous case, this black dot, it indicates injection of the message. We are injecting the message in the services, right? So we can inject a message into the bus, right, with enough information to allow it to deliver correctly. For example, in these services, what we are doing, we are injecting the some informations. So whenever it reaches to the message bus will able to know by looking into this message. Okay, message bus can see this particular part and can retrieve the information so that it will know what kind of services you require or what kind of component you are interested to interact. Okay, for example, one service to interact with service 2. So in order to, you cannot open a channel between service 1 and service 2. What you will do, you will inform the you can say that service 1, okay, the service 1 is communicating with the message bus, right? Okay, that message bus will extract the information, right, from the service 1, okay, this black dot 1, and will know that the service 1 want to communicate with service 2, so it is redirecting that request to the service 2, right? So that way you can do, right, so that it will be delivered to the destination in a correct way. Next one is this, we are representing this by each and every services by a field oval, right, which is nothing but injection. Injection means nothing but you are adding some kind of codes into each services, right? Everything is a software kind of thing, right? So we are injecting something, right? So let us take an example to clarify your idea, right? Like desktop, smartphones can be treated as a client. If you see the second architecture, desktop and your client. Okay, desktop can be treated as a client. By using your desktop, you are requesting some services, or in your mobile phone also you are requesting various services, right? So you can do that thing, right? So desktop and smartphone can be treated as a client. So they can request the broker to provide the services, right? And the message bus is implemented as a set of broker. If I told you this message bus is now replaced with a set of brokers, and you can use the multiple brokers. In this case, if you see there are n number of brokers are there, so the use of multiple brokers allow the bus to scale to many clients and large message traffic. What is the reason of going for multiple brokers instead of a single broker? So they can accommodate as much as possible clients. A big number of clients, a massive amount of clients can be aided, okay, can be controlled by the help of broker, right? The broker can coordinate with each other if they require to provide various services also, right? That's why message traffic and many clients can be joined through a set of brokers. So the brokers may be a service, maybe a servers. Okay, sometimes this broker is nothing but a server, or you can say it is treated as a services. Okay, so it is providing some kind of services that receives message. Okay, who will, from where it will receive message? From the client, and perform needed information and routing on them. Okay, and send out new messages. So it is able to see the requirements of the client. Based upon the requirements of the client, what we are doing, we are providing the services. Okay, by the help of it is generating new messages. That new messages will specify, okay, to what kind of services need to be provided to a particular client, right? So these buses, whatever used in the first diagram, if you see the message buses, right, between the services, if you see, it is providing point-to-point messaging. Point-to-point means one side maybe service 1 is there, another side service 2 is there. Service 1 want to communicate with service 2. Okay, so these buses can provide the services. Sometimes it can provide the broadcasting. So you know that broadcasting is nothing but radio communication. Okay, there is a 1 is to n communication, 1 is to n, right? So one side from a particular source it is propagating, but it is reaching to multiple multiple users. Like radio communication, you can also listen radio, I can also listen radio, but it is broadcast from a single point. These buses can also provide the multicast services. Okay, multicast services, you know that class D is used in the multi-class services to the computer network. So the selective multi-class to many recipient class clients. many clients can get the services at the same time. So that kind of communication may be provided by the buses. Then brokers, if you see brokers, what brokers is doing, we are replacing the bosses by brokers, right? So brokers implement as managers of use and software. Why you are using broker? Broker is having a list of users and list of items who is the user required to subscribe, or list of services you can say. Okay, so it is mapping a user with a particular services, right? So implement as managers of queues and software. Okay, so it is maintaining a message queue, right? Suppose you have requested now, it will be placed in the message queue. I have requested after 1 second, it will be placed in the message queue, right? So one by one it will extract and find a suitable services for a particular client. That is the use of broker. So there is some live examples are also there. For example, MQ series used by IBM. Okay, now it is called as WebSphere Message Queue. Okay, it is also treated as a broker, right? It is a broker which is having a message queue to provide the services. So what is the advantages? Another advantages you can see. What is the use of the message queue? Okay, the main use is that if you see Hadoop case also I told you, right? SDFS system, right? In that case, what happened? There is a master node and there is so many slave nodes, right? What master node will do? Master node will give some job to the slave node, right? Master is going to provide some services to the slave. Okay, or master will instruct the slave to do a particular work. That's why it is saying master defines separate work items that are placed in queue, which is assessed by multiple workers, right? So it can divide a work, it can decompose a work into sub work, and each and every sub work can be given to the worker node, so that the worker node can execute the work and return to the master node. Again, that master node will assemble everything and return the result, right? So that is the advantages of going for a brokering policy in between different services and or clients. Next, we will see very important concept that is called as PubSub model. PUB stands for publisher, SUB stands for subscriber, right? Now, you also know that you are subscribing Netflix, you are supplying Amazon Prime, right? So you are the subscriber. Who is the publisher? Amazon is the publisher, Netflix is the publisher. Similarly, here also in service-oriented architecture, also having two things, one is publisher and it is subscriber. So why we are using this publisher and subscriber, this PubSub model, okay, describes a particular model for linking source and destination for a message bus. Source is nothing but Netflix server, or source is nothing but Amazon server. They are providing services to you, right? So you are the destination, right? So what publisher will do? Publisher will produce the message, okay? It can label the message also, okay? For example, one type of movie is, let's say, crime movie. So it can label as a crime movie. One movie is, let's say, horror movie. It can be treated as a horror movie. Another movie is a romantic movie. It can label as a romantic movie. Such type of things can be labeled by the publisher, because one person may not be interested for all type of movies or all type of musics or all types of messages, right? One message may having higher priority, another message having lower priority, right? Like that. Subscriber. Subscriber is what? User is the subscriber. We are the subscriber of Netflix and Amazon Prime. So what we are doing? We are receiving the message. We are the receivers of the message. And somebody may, as a user, I need to specify what is my requirement. That's why it's saying specify the topics for which they wish to receive the associated message. Suppose I have subscribed a news, I have subscribed a particular movie, okay, or a particular channel or a particular web series, right? So I am treated as a, I have to specify what is my requirement to my publisher. So publisher will going to provide the services to me as per my requirement, right? For this case, what we need? We need message filtering. Whatever messages are there, so we have to filter the messages, and based upon my filter, for example, I am interested in, let's say, XYZ movie, then XYZ category of movie. So it will going to provide that type of movies, right? Or that type of items or that type of messages, right? So here content-based message selection is very much important in order to provide a specific type of messages to a particular recipients. So this relationship between, if you find that between the publisher and subscriber, it is called as many-to-many relationship. It's not one-to-many relation or many-to-one relationship. It is a many-to-many relationship between the publisher and subscriber. And publisher and subscriber messaging middleware allows straightforward implementation of notification and event-based programming model. Suppose a new movie is released, which is the category of that movie is liked by me. Okay. For example, I need a type of movie, let's say horror movie, right? So one new horror movie was released. So what will happen? It will give a notification to you, right? Or if there is an event occurred in a particular place, I am interested in such events. For example, I want interested in yoga type of events. So if a event is occurring in some place, it is going to provide some kind of notifications, right? For that, publisher subscriber messaging plays an important role. So now we'll take one poll, then we'll continue our discussion. So you have 30 seconds to answer this question. Please answer this question. You have 30 seconds. ESB stands for this.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I haven't received poll, sir.
No, I have initiated the poll. You check from your end because I don't have any control.
Even
Sir, I did not receive the poll, sir.
Or even I did not receive the poll, sir.
No, there is no button like that only. I have to only start the poll and end the poll. I am not selecting any students here.
We haven't received, sir.
Okay, I am starting another poll. You answer. Okay.
Okay, sir.
What is the correct answer here? ESB stands for
Enterprise Service Bus.
Enterprise Service Bus. Those people who are not getting poll, okay, I am relaunching the poll. If it is not coming, you contact your coordinator because I don't know why it is not coming. Those who have not answered, they only answer. If still you are not getting poll,
We are still not getting, sir.
then you inform to your coordinator, okay? I don't know how this Zoom platform works, right? Because there is no student list here. Okay, I'm stopping the poll. To answer the second one, I am initiating the second poll. Second question is that dash can be replaced with dash. We already discussed two things. You can replace one component with another component. What you can replace? In first diagram, one thing is there. Second diagram, another thing is there. So you can replace the first thing by second thing. Okay, I'm stopping the poll now. What is the correct answer? What is the correct answer? Can anybody answer? What is the correct one? So here message bus you can replace, right? Can be replaced with your broker, right? We have replaced the first figures message box with broker, right? Okay. So the next one we'll see here, that is called queuing and message system. So this queuing and message system, okay, is provided. One of the very well-known standard for the queuing and message services is called as your Java message service, right? This Java message service specifies a set of interfaces of outline the communication semantics in a publisher subscriber and queuing system. So it is taking the help of the publisher subscriber model, right, in order to provide some queuing and messaging system. Okay, it is
Sir, we
providing queuing
can't
system.
see screen.
Now you are able to see.
No, sir.
No, sir, it is too.
Oh, I don't know. Today the Zoom platform is little bit different in comparison to previous one. Now are you able to see? Are you able to see now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this Java messaging services is a well-known standard for providing the queuing and messaging system. So it is taking the help of the publisher, subscriber, and queuing system to provide such type of services, right? And one of the very important protocol used in service-oriented architecture, that is called as Advanced Message Queuing Protocol. That is called as AMQP protocol. Okay, it specifies a set of wire formats. Like I told you, each and every services may have different formats, different APIs also. Okay, so it is providing different wire formats for communication, and it also supports the cross-platform, right? In multiple operating systems are there, their formats are different. Then you can also use this particular protocol in order to migrate from one operating system to another operating system. So for which we are having two types of web services. One is your web services eventing, another is called web services notifications. So I told you in the previous slide also, this publisher and subscriber messaging is providing notifications and event-based programming models. The same thing is provided by this WS eventing and WS notification, right? Then I'll tell you a comparison platform, a set of comparisons. So in that comparison, you can see that different types of services, different types of queuing systems and different types of messaging systems are used. One of the thing you can see here, one is called Mule MQ. So it is a messaging framework developed using Java programming, which is able to deploy 2,500 products as of 2010, right? So it also provides integration of the existing systems, right? It can integrate the existing systems and providing the messaging framework, right? And the protocol supported by Mule MQ is nothing but POP, right? Post Office Protocol, IMAP, FTP, RMI, SOAP, SSL, and MSMTP. So various protocols are supported by Mule MQ. So if you need a particular protocol, okay, then that particular specific protocol is used to provide the messaging framework. Similarly, if you see ActiveMQ is another messaging system, okay, which is provided by Apache Web open source message broker. WebSphere MQ is provided by IBM's enterprise message bus buffering, right? But another brokering system is there that is called as Narada brokering. So it is a open source brokering. You can download also, right? It is completely free, subjected to some license. And this Narada brokering support a software multi-point control unit that is called as your MCU for multi-point video conferencing. Like we are using this Zoom platform for video conferencing or to taking class. Similarly, such type of services are also provided by the Narada brokering, right? And here if you see, they have the time decoupled delivery. I'll tell you what is time decoupled delivery now, right? Time decoupled delivery is nothing but a particular situation where producer and consumer, you are suppose you are the consumer, another one is the another where you are getting your services, that is the producer. As a consumer, you are requesting the service. As a provider, it is providing the services, right? Producer, it is providing the services. But both producer and consumer don't have to be present at the same time to exchange message. Just like our email communication, suppose I want to drop a mail to you, you need not be present in your end, right? Because in the later point of time, you can use your username password to view that mail, right? So this producer and consumer, they don't have to be present at the same time to exchange the messages, right? And this queuing system also provided the fault tolerance. If there is any fault, it is able to tolerate that fault and provided the services. Another new impressive system that is called as Rabbit MQ, Rabbit message queuing system. It uses your advanced message queuing protocol to provide services, right? This quick queuing and messaging services. So this table is giving you a complete picture of the various cloud service providers and their message queuing system. As you can see, here we are comparing 6 systems. One is by Amazon, right? the very popular cloud service provider, that is Amazon Simple Queue. Second one is Azure Queue, right? Third one is ActiveMQ. Fourth one is MuleMQ, just we discussed. Fifth one is WebSphere MQ, and the last one we discussed just before this table, that is called Narada Brokerage, right? See here, this advanced, this AMQ, this is AMQP. Okay, this is AMQP, that is Advanced Messaging Queuing System. This advanced message queuing system is not provided by most of the cloud service provider, right? But if you see, this ActiveMQ is providing OpenWire and Storm, right? Storm, right? This is provided the AMQP compliant, right? Similarly, if you see, Java Message Service Compliance is not provided by Amazon, not provided by Azure, but provided by ActiveMQ, MuleMQ, WebSphere, and Narada Broker, right? Distributed broker, right? Broker is not replaced in a centralized one. It is a distributed one. Distributed is provided by last four services, okay? Last four systems, but not by the first two systems. Delivery guarantee, okay? So if you see in Amazon, see, very important part, if you want to communicate a particular message, Amazon Simple Queue places the message and retain in the queue for 4 days. So try to deliver the message. If it is not, if the recipient is not available, in that case, it is retaining the message for 4 days. But Azure retains it for 7 days. Somebody may use the drivers and database to keep the message, right? Somebody may use the TTL. TTL you have studied in computer network, that is called time to live. Time to live is, suppose I will fix that is 180 seconds. So after 180 seconds, it is expired, right? So here if you see, it is exactly once deliver supported, it is guaranteed and exactly once. So different types of services with respect to the system features is provided by various provider. Next, if you see, ordering guarantee. Ordering guarantee, Amazon is providing the best effort. Best effort says that whenever the services is available, right? Suppose now the system resources are available, then now it will send. If the system resources will be available at evening 5, then it will transfer at evening 5. That is called as best effort services, right? Similarly, other services are provided by different cloud service providers. So they are using different protocol like SOAP, that is Simple Object Access Protocol. Somebody uses the get and post commands, right? And here it is used HTTP REST protocol. Somebody uses Java Message Services, WS eventing, like that, right? Similarly, buffering. Buffering is not there in the Amazon Simple Queue, but rest providers are having buffering. Maximum message size of Amazon case, it is 8 KB, 8 KB very small, but the other case it is not applicable, right? Time decoupled delivery, just I told you, the service provider and service consumer may not be present at the same time while the message in the communication. So if you see in this case, Amazon is providing up to 4 days, or Azure is providing up to 7 days. Some other comparison you see with respect to the security, people are using SSA algorithm, right? HAS algorithms are used. Okay, somebody people are using Socket Secure Layer, SSL. Okay. Similarly, support for web services, people are using SOAP, Simple Object Access Protocol, and REST protocol. We have already compared this REST protocol with the Simple Object Access Protocol, right? But Narada Brokering is use your WS eventing system, right? For transporting the message, people can use HTTP, or you can use HTTPS also. You know, HTTPS is more secure in comparison to your HTTP. That way you can provide the services. Then last one is called subscription formats. Okay, their subscription formats are also different, right? Like first case, if you see Amazon case, SS is to individual queues. Okay, and also the Azure also providing that services. So others are providing Java Message Services. They are using structured query language to provide the services, right? Now we'll see 3 examples where to illustrate this Narada Brokering, because Narada Brokering is a very famous middleware services. So that these 3 examples are based upon 3 aspects. One is called as environmental protection. One example we'll see with respect to environmental protection. Second one we'll see with respect to the internet conferencing. Third one we'll see with respect to the earthquake science application, right? So this environment protection, in order to protect the environment, there is a project, real life project. That project name is GOAT, 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 right? This GOAT project was developed in Clemson University. Okay, Why these people have developed this one? To monitor the environment, and it is a part of the program. This GOAT project is a part of the program of integrated study for coastal environmental sustainability, right? So they want to know the information related to environment. What kind of information? Maybe they are interested in the groundwater monitoring, whether the water is available in a particular place or not, right? Then they are also interested if the water is available in the surface water quality, right? Whether the quality of the water is good or not, right? Quantity monitoring also, whether enough things are available or not. Weather and a variety of ecological environments is also provided by this GOAT project, right? This project is a live project, is an example of our environmental protection, which is coming under the Narada Brokering Middleware Services, which uses this Narada Brokering services. The GOAT project also uses our publisher and subscriber messaging system, right? Okay, to provide flexible and reliable layer to move observation data, right, from a wide variety of sensor sources to users that have diverse data management and processing requirement. So publisher and subscriber specify that what kind of services the producer can provide and what kind of services you are interested. So based upon that, it is providing some observation data. It is moving the observation data so that you can do some kind of analysis. And this data can be also extracted through a lot of sensors, right? The next one is commercial internet networking meeting plat software. So Narada Brokering also provided a commercial version. That commercial version is nothing but the called as Anabas. Okay, that is a internet meeting software, just like Zoom and Google Meet are there, right? So it is a platform where you can do, you can share your whiteboard, you can chat. Okay, you can provide some kind of sharing applications can be done in this Anabas. Anabas also uses this Narada brokering, right, for content dissemination. If you transfer the content from one place to another place, or if you want to send a message from one place to another place, so Anabas is using in that case. Anabas also okay, excuse me. Anabas also supports online meetings. Like if a meeting is going on in various places of US, or it is also providing various meetings in Hong Kong and China. So that online meeting platform is provided by Anabas also. It also provides audio video conferencing using the UDP protocol. You know that UDP is an unreliable protocol because it do not require any kind of acknowledgement, and but it is faster in comparison to TCP. So they are using UDP protocol for audio video conferencing. The last protocol, last example you can see here, that is by NASA funded project, that is called as QuakeSim. QuakeSim project, it is dealing with the earthquake science. It is finding the earthquake gravity, right? What is the earthquake level, right? That can be found by this particular project. And this project is also uses your Narada Brokering middleware to manage the workflows, which connected a distributed services and support GPS, global positioning system, to filter and deliver real-time GPS data. So it is finding the GPS you are using, right, while you are traveling in Ola and Uber, you are using GPS. So that same concept is implemented here, right? So the GPS is used to filter the data and provide the real-time data to the users, right? It can also you can say that webcam, whatever you are using, this webcams also treated as a sensor in QuakeSim project. The display of GPS sensors is managed by the Narada brokering, and it also finds the GPS coordinate of various places, and it also displays a particular maps with respect to the time. It is showing what is the GPS locations, the time series data, okay, provided by the various GPS stations are provided in the form of a map. So if you see this picture, will give you the complete idea. This picture is taken in the southern part of the California, that is Southern California, right? So if you see, there is a lot of GPS things are there, right? If you see here, there are a lot of pin are there, right? Like Google Map also, you can pin a particular location, right? Here there are a lot of pins are there, and it is generating some graph. This graph is generated, and this graph is displaying the time series data. This graph is displaying the time series data, right? And with respect to a particular time, it is showing different coordinates. Like if you see here, In the x-axis represent the time from 0 to 600, right? And y-axis represent the coordinates, right? And it is generating a particular graph. That's why it is saying the map displays the time series produced by GPS stations. GPS stations have generated this particular graph. This is an example of the message-oriented middleware. So we'll stop here. In the next class. We'll go for the rest part of the service-oriented architecture. That next lecture we'll discuss about the portals and science gateways. Thank you very much.